Hey everyone, welcome to the channel. This is James, and in this video, let's talk about the webisode Dead in the Water. It's a Fear the Walking Dead related webisode. I've recently redone my reviews on all of the webisodes. You can check them out in the link below. I've got a playlist even. Now that this is pretty much the last one. This will be the last of the several webisodes that started way back in the main series of The Walking Dead. My initial review of Dead in the Water came out in 2022, so it's not that old. And Dead in the Water, I think, can be watched by itself, even if you have not seen any of Fear the Walking Dead. I think you can watch this and still understand it and still see some of the early day stuff. The ending of Dead in the Water leads into Season 6 of Fear the Walking Dead. Dead in the Water, it's a short miniseries. It was made up of 6 webisodes put together, totaling about 43 minutes. So it's one of the longer runtime webisodes. It ties directly into Fear the Walking Dead Season 6, specifically, and the stories that go after that. So spoiler alert, I guess as far as that goes, I may touch on Fear the Walking Dead a little bit, but mostly I'll just be talking about Dead in the Water. I won't be breaking things down scene by scene and analyzing it frame by frame, but instead I'll give a general overview of what happened and share my thoughts. So we follow Riley, a character we later meet in Fear the Walking Dead Season 6. He's aboard the USS Pennsylvania, a nuclear submarine stationed in the Gulf of Mexico. The crew hasn't had proper radio communication in a while, just scattered, confusing messages. They've been down under the water. The apocalypse has happened on land, and they're just kind of left in the dark. But then there's a medical emergency on board, a sick sailor who needs a medevac, but no help is coming. They attempt an operation with limited resources, and unfortunately the sailor dies. And that moment kicks off a chain reaction because the dead sailor reanimates. It's the zombie apocalypse now. All of a sudden, everybody's infected. And I guess even people down under the water in a submarine. So supposedly, they were in a submarine when everything happened. How did they get infected? So the questions there are tremendous. So yeah, there's still a lot of questions about how it happened. But they were also infected. So when one of them died, they reanimated. No one on board has any idea what's going on. They haven't been told all this stuff from, up top. They've just got scattered messages. They don't know what's going on. They tried to restrain him. Other people are bitten. The crew quickly learned some key survival rules. You have to destroy the brain, and they're drawn to noise. Walkers, reanimated dead, are drawn to noise. But the infection spreads pretty fast. The sub is quickly overrun, leaving only a handful of survivors, including Riley and the sailor with one of the keys that will launch the nuclear missiles. It takes 2 keys. And we find out, and we see in Fear the Walking Dead Season 6 that someone's looking for a key so they can launch the nuclear missiles. The crazy people, the crazy guy, the cult. We get a bit of Riley's personal story, too. He had a wife and a son, and once he finally makes it to shore, he hears them actually dying over the phone, which is pretty crazy. And that moment felt a bit underwhelming in terms of writing and emotional impact to me, but it's pretty powerful for the character, I guess. He was going to commit suicide, and of course, Teddy, the crazy guy, comes up like a Jesus figure. It's not the end, it's just the beginning. But overall, I think the acting was pretty good. It worked for what it was. I think some of the performances could have been stronger, but hey, the characters react pretty realistically enough to the chaos. Much of the runtime is spent slowly walking through the dark corridors or standing around talking. I get the budget restraints, but I hope for more in terms of content, especially with it being that long of a runtime. And I hoped we had gotten more, especially from the radio operator picking up signals. He briefly picks up a broadcast from Houston, but that's it. Meaning just radio chatter of just anybody. You'd think during a collapse of society there'd be more radio chatter, not less.
That ain't all. Fellas picked up a FM broadcast out of Houston. Army's been deployed. Something about medical incidents.
But a major plot point involves a direct order to fire a missile at Chicago.
Chicago. That's the target. Prepare to launch.
Yeah, destroy a city. That's pretty crazy. And of course, the conflict of the men in the submarine going, what? Fire a missile at Chicago? What the hell's going on up there? So they were told to blow it up. And while they don't go through with it, we later see in Fear the Walking Dead season 6 that missiles do launch across Texas because they found the other key and all that stuff. And the crazy guy of the cult launched the missiles. But this was a command, an official command from higher up. Part of the government was still around the first few days, and they said, hey, we lost Chicago. We need to nuke it. It does make you wonder, like, was Chicago like Atlanta in the Walking Dead main series? Maybe it was declared a safe zone, gathered too many people, and collapsed, prompting a total strike. And if this command reached one sub, were there other subs or places? Were similar orders given to other silos or launch sites or subs? Were any carried out? We don't know. We know Okafor. We learned a lot of that story in The Ones Who Live. Okafor bombed cities, dropping bombs from a plane, but they weren't nukes. The story ends with Teddy approaching Riley just as he's about to end his life, telling him it's just the beginning, of course. And that moment connects directly to what we see in Fear the Walking Dead. Riley later joins Teddy and the group who spray painted "The end is the beginning" on the sub, and they're hunting for the other launch key. So they do eventually launch the weapons. Riley, I think in the end, realizes he made the wrong decision. He ends up as a walker. But as far as the Fear the Walking Dead main show, I didn't really like it. I just didn't. The writing was terrible to me. Just everything was off about that season and most seasons. I know a lot of you said you enjoyed Fear the Walking Dead season 6 because of the bounty hunter and it was written a little differently. I just think the first few episodes where it does seem kind of decent isn't enough to make up for the rest of the season and the rest of the other seasons and the writing in general. But I did enjoy Dead in the Water. It's a pretty cool little short film. It talks about a sub, some of the early days, what can happen on a sub, and all that kind of stuff during the apocalypse. It shows that people were infected even down deep under the water. However the hell that happened, we don't have any explanation and probably won't ever get any good explanation for that because it just don't make good sense. But it's a pretty decent little webisode, Dead in the Water. It's worth watching if you're into the Walking Dead universe. I'll leave a link to my older review. I'll leave a link to the webisode so you can watch it. I'll leave a link to the playlist of all the webisodes down in the description below. And of course, I want to hear what you think about it all down in the comments below. And you know I'll join you there. This is James, and as always, thanks for watching. Stay tuned for more Dead stuff.